everybody. It's Lindsay Sutherland Boal, founder of She Walks Canada, the national movement to engage and empower women in and seeking a life alcohol-reduced or alcohol-free. Today, I am so pleased to have Jillian join me today for the SHAMEgrila Podcast. Jillian is one of the She Walks Canada facilitators. She's part of the She Walks Canada Coaching Collective. And Jillian and I went to school together, albeit at different times, and that's how we met. So Jillian, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me, Lindsay. I'm so happy to be here.
So let's just cut to the chase. So we're here to talk about shame, and you have one of the best stories of metaphors I've ever heard, and I love it. It's so resonant. And so let's just start right out the hop. Tell us about the window treatment.
It's so funny how this story landed with me so much. So in my kitchen, I have a very large window. I would say it's probably 5 feet wide. And every night I would finish my night and I would go upstairs and I would pour a glass of wine and just kind of relax, right? That's my nightly routine. Never thought anything of it. And then one day, the window treatment of this huge window came crashing down, literally and metaphorically, okay? Crashing down, made a huge mess everywhere and knocked the cat food bowl over. It was a disaster, right? And I was devastated. And because of the size, they're not as easy to run to the store and find something that fits. It's kind of like a custom size. So I did not have a window treatment in my kitchen window for quite some time. So now each night, it's nighttime, so the lights are on in my house. So you could see clear through my house now. All the neighbors back up to my house. So now each night I'm going to get my nightly glass of, wine down. And I'm starting to think, are the neighbors seeing this every night? Now I'm starting to judge myself. Are they judging me? You could see right into my kitchen, right around the same time every night. What do? I walk to the refrigerator. I grab a glass of wine. So I really started judging myself based on what I thought they might have been judging me for. Now, I don't know if any neighbors ever looked into my house, to be honest. They probably never did. However, having this huge exposure, literally, really shined a light on me in this habit that I didn't think there was anything wrong with, right? Everybody has a glass of wine before, bed, or has a cup of coffee in the morning and winds down with wine. Like, I never really thought there was anything wrong with it until I realized I didn't like the way it felt if somebody was seeing me do this. And it was such an aha moment for me, which then parlayed into, well, wait a minute, if they're seeing me do this, which is causing shame, because I don't know what they think, now who else is seeing me do this? My kids. I have 2 kids. My husband and I have 2 kids. They don't know if I'm drinking 1 glass of wine, a half a glass, or a whole bottle of wine. They don't know, but there's a wine glass out on the counter of the same kitchen that you could see clearly across my neighborhood. And the shame started coming down, which it was very strange. I try not to judge myself too harshly most of the time, but I felt judged. Now, I don't know if I was making that up. Whatever it was a very weird moment for me, and it created a lot of shame. And it was so interesting because had that window treatment not fallen off, I might not have ever even thought this. So it was the best thing that ever ended up happening, because from there is when I decided, is this what I really want? Is this what I want to portray? Is this what I want to do to my body? What is this? And I never looked at it like that before, but the feeling of shame brought this on for me.
So what I love about this and your transparency about it is that your decision to consider your drinking habits was not a conscious decision. You and I have talked several times that you certainly were not one of these, like you weren't like me in the sense that I knew I had a problem that I needed to address for some time. And you certainly talked about, having your nightly glass of wine or whatever it was, but what that brought onto you is now that everybody can see everything, now that our laundry is out in the front yard, how are other people perceiving me? How are their thoughts of me changing now that they can see this behavior or not. We don't know if they saw anything, but then that turned to how do my kids think? And then it turned to how do I think about myself? And what I also love about your story, which is so important, is that it does not matter how much we drink. What matters is the impact that has on us, our lives, and the people around us. And just like you said, you know what? I was looking at it, I'm like, really? Do I want to do this to myself? Do I want to do this to my body? Do I really? Why? Okay. So if I'm that concerned about my window treatment coming down, maybe this is something I just need to have a little chit chat with myself about, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
so,
know what really, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
What really drove it home for me was after this SHAMEgrila I put
No.
on myself.
Right.
I said to my daughter, there was an event coming up that my friends and my kids' friends are all a big group, and we were all going to be together. And I said, wow, this is going to be the first event that I go to with our big group. And it was a party. And I said that I'm not going to drink any alcohol, and all the, other parents will, and everybody will, and everyone, and my daughter said, well, I said, everybody's going to look really different to me, I guess, when everyone's having fun and partying and so loose, and I'm going to be the one sitting there. And she goes, well, what do you think us kids have always thought? And I'm like, dagger to my heart. And I thought, what? When she said that to me, she wasn't saying it. None of my friends, most of them don't excessively drink, but from a child's point of view, I never took that into consideration. So when the whole group of friends would be together, obviously the children aren't drinking anything, but they always witness the parents. Again, it doesn't matter if it was one beer or a keg of beer. The kids saw the parents with the drinks, but I never thought to ask, like, what do you guys think about having alcohol around or whatever? Never thought about it. But when she said that to me, I thought, interesting. I never took that into consideration. I did think of the shaming of, well, what do my kids think? But I didn't take it to that next layer. And it was really like, whoa, it kind of was that aha moment to me that my actions, I never felt like affected anyone other than me. And now I'm beginning to realize they affect a lot of people, which was another reflective moment for me in this journey of what am I doing? And that's how this all kind of came about.
Just for our listeners to understand, are you comfortable sharing how old your daughter is when you had that conversation?
Yes, she was 12.
12. Okay.
Yeah.
So you bring up a really interesting point, and reflecting back to what we've already talked about is that it's not the amount that we consume, it's the impact that it has. And, a lot of people have asked me in my day, like, how much were you drinking, and I hate answering that question. I won't answer that question because it doesn't matter how much I drank. I don't want other people to look at me and make a decision about themselves based on how I was drinking. And that's just human nature to do that. But instead, I think about it, I talk about this a lot too, is that there's 3 levels of dependency or addiction. And that is, number 1, unconscious self-harm. Number 2, conscious harm to self, unconscious harm to others. 3, conscious harm to others. And so it's not about how much we're drinking, but it's like, is my drinking, so level 1, is my drinking hurting me or not? Is it preventing me from living up to the responsibilities and the obligations that I have every day? And if we can honestly say that it's not, collect your $200 and pass go. But if it is, we really need to go to question 2, like, okay, so this is causing issues in my life. Maybe I'm staying up late to drink. I did that all the time. I'd stay up late. To drink. I need my sleep. Oh, I love my sleep. But I would stay up to drink. And then that affects my work the next day. It affects my productivity the next day. It affects how loving, patient, and kind I am to my baby girl. The next morning, she didn't buy this, drunk mom crap. You know what I mean? And so the ripple effect of our actions, whatever they are huge. And we need to really be really, really, really honest, as you have been. How is this really affecting me? And it's not about what others think. Like, you got to, what do my neighbors think? Wait, what do my kids think? Wait, what? Oh, what do I think?
Yes. And you know what? Sometimes I feel like judgment and shame, as much as we feel like they're very, very negative, I truly think that if you stay in them, they could stay negative. But if you learn something and evolve from them, then maybe they were meant to be at the moment, because all that judgment I passed on myself felt terrible. I hated the way I felt. I didn't like any of it. But from that, it started having me evolve to, well, then what do I really want? What do I want to feel good about? And one thing that, what you just said about staying up late, I was staying up later too, because I'm enjoying my glass of wine. I'm watching my show. I'm doing what I want to do. But what would happen was then I would go to bed,
Mhm.
and after you drink alcohol and then lay down, I have very, very bad reflux. It's called GERD. I would wake up in the morning and I'd feel terrible. And what did I do? I'd
Mhm.
reach for like a heartburn pill or something like that. Like,
Mhm.
it's crazy. So I,
Mhm.
I started really realizing this is negatively affecting me. It's really my health. I mean, what am I doing? You
Mhm.
know? So it was the shame and the judgment at first felt terrible, but they were a catalyst to start really addressing what was going on. And they ultimately turned out to be a good thing for me. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't like those feelings at
Mhm.
all.
Mhm.
But because I didn't like them, I didn't want to feel them anymore. I had to figure out how do I get rid of them? And
Mhm.
that's when the corner started turning. And I used them as the starting point for me to make a change.
This
And
is
I'm thankful.
this is a really important point that you're making here, is that so your decision, even though you didn't identify
Mhm.
as somebody with a significant problem, here, anybody who can't see me, I am pointing and touching myself right now as somebody who had a significant problem, even though that isn't how you identify. Um, what's interesting is that you still had to sit in the shit with it. You
Mhm.
had to sit in the discomfort of ooh, these are not comfortable emotions that I'm feeling that I have to deal with about my behavior and how it's affecting me and those around me. And like those are uncomfortable situations. And I want our listener, dear listeners, to listen to this and say that the discomfort is absolutely part of the process and there is nothing wrong with the discomfort. The discomfort means change is coming, and change in this context is a very good thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that so much. I always use the analogy of when a woman is pregnant, labor and delivery is not comfortable, but at the end of it, you get this beautiful baby, right? So it's
Mhm.
worth it. The pain and the discomfort sometimes is worth it.
You know, it's so funny. It's so funny you say that because I have often thought about recovery,
Yeah.
or recovering yourself, however you want to call it. As this is totally like going through labor and delivery and pregnancy and the whole shebang, because every woman, every woman's situation and unique story and how they got to where they were until the window treatment came down, like everybody's situation is totally different. We all grew up different. We all have different experiences. But our common theme here is that we have a coping mechanism that is not working for us, you
Yes.
know? And so
Yes.
we've got to understand that everybody's experience is different, but we all are trying to birth a child. you
You're
know?
right.
And it's gonna be painful, whether you want to take an epidural or not, your choice. Whether you want to have a bathtub birth or a hospital birth, your choice. Whether you want to have somebody else carry your baby, your choice. Doesn't matter. The point here is that everybody's experience is different, but we're all birthing a baby
Absolutely. Absolutely. I can't agree more.
as mothers. Whew, dear me. Okay, so on let's talk about your calls. Okay, so when are you facilitating for She Walks Canada?
I facilitate every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for an hour. It's from 7 to 8 o'clock.
Okay. And so you have an interesting twist
Mhm.
on your calls. And so tell us about that.
So I am an intuitive life coach and energy healer, and I deal a lot with energetics and things of that nature. And I like to meditate and I like to pull angel and oracle cards. So I thought going into She Walks Canada, my expertise is in that field, right? So I'm bringing a little piece of me into these calls. And the first call I did, I meditated before the call, like I always do, but then I pulled a series of cards and I realized they were perfect and they were aligned. And it was so cool because it was done intuitively. I shuffle them and then whatever comes out is what comes out. So I decided that that might be a really interesting way to start the calls. And it has been because the people on the calls have been connecting with the messages that have been coming through. And really what they are is they are reflection points. They're not even something we have to stay on in the call, but they're topics of reflection, topics of discussion. and we could take it from there, or we could talk about something else. But they've been
Okay. So
really,
the first call that the first time that you facilitated for She Walks
Yeah.
Canada, I popped on the call just to be sure that, everything was working, and
Yeah.
that's just part of being a founder. But anyways, can you please I didn't know that you had pulled cards. I didn't know that's what you were going to do. And you didn't even think you were going to talk about that in your call. But
Yeah.
just so that people see the power of this, can you please tell us what the two cards of all of the cards that you could have pulled, what were the two cards that you pulled in your very first call?
Oh my God. It was, I couldn't have manually pulled these cards better if I actually went through the deck myself and picked them out. But the first one was Judgment. And I'm thinking to myself, like, really, it's so funny how when you trust and you put the intention out that whatever cards come are meant for the highest good of all involved, in such a blessing, light kind of way, they always come through. So talking about Judgment as my first call with this group and with this organization, I thought, oh my God, this is how I started my journey, was judging myself. And I could almost guarantee everyone on this call feels the same way. And the other one shame? Oh my God.
No, I remember what it was. I'll tell you what it was. Self-limiting beliefs.
Oh my God, that's what it was. I knew it was an S, self-limiting beliefs. You're right. And I thought to myself, judgment and limiting beliefs. Like, I think everybody could resonate. Now, in these decks, they're not all words that have this heaviness to them. Some of them are very light words. Those two words have a heaviness because what we give to them, right? But we all are culprits of limiting beliefs and judgment. And I thought it was so interesting that those two were the ones that came out on my first call. And that's what made me know these cards and all of my decks are meant to be in this space with me on these calls, whether I touch on them briefly or whether the participants want to talk about them more, but they're meant to be there because they were so spot on that I knew intuitively, this is what I need to do. So it just kind of happened organically, didn't know it was going to happen. And it did. And it was really pretty beautiful. And last night's call was absolutely amazing with the cards.
See, that's the thing, is that they sound judgment, limiting beliefs, they have a real weight to them. But the thing is, I love what you just said about things have the weight that we give them, whether they're good weights, bad weights, all this kind of thing. And I think any woman who's going through this kind of transformative process is absolutely feeling judgment, absolutely feeling limiting belief, shame, and all these other things. But the beauty of that is that the purpose of this whole thing is to get to the other side of judgment, limiting self-beliefs, shame, all this kind of stuff. And so these cards, while they may have weight, they also have tremendous significance that allow us to get to the other side.
Absolutely. Absolutely agree. And what's really wonderful about, and I think that what you're doing with this is so wonderful. I just want to tell you that. I know I've told you before, but it's really, really amazing.
Thank you.
And the fact that it creates this safe space for these women to come and to share, and for all of us to be together and heal. It's so profound is really the only word I could think of. And it's so important. So
it is.
Yeah,
it is, in the sense that the greatest way to dismantle and dissolve shame is by talking about it. And at least in my experience, and I know I'm not alone, like I can't think of anybody who feels differently about this, but like there was just no way that I was going to anybody close to me when I was going through the beginning part of this process, say, listen, I really have a problem. There's something wrong with me. I drink too much and I can't control myself. Like there's just no way I was going to take that to anybody. But it was weird because I would sure take that to strangers who were women, who were weathering the same storm. And so I was fully expecting there's something wrong with you. Oh, you can't control. That's what I was expecting. What I got was, yeah, been there. You're in the right place, and that was the beginning of my judgment-free zone. And it was the beginning of the end of self-limiting beliefs. So it's in these meetings with strangers. It sounds so crazy, where we can, unpack our SHAMEgrila bags and leave them behind and check out of the hotel and go and live our lives the way that we intend to. I should be clear about that. Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with you. I would be more inclined to tell somebody not close to me if I had an issue that I felt judgment around, because
Mhm.
I would immediately think I would be judged back, maybe even
Mhm.
harsher, from somebody that knew me. And so I see what you're saying, and that makes complete sense. They also have the option to, like you had said in the beginning, they can keep their cameras on or off if they
Yeah.
want to. It's whatever makes them comfortable. And I love that we create that space for them to explore and to
Mhm.
feel good and to have that space. So I think it's wonderful, and I'm honored to be a part of it. So I thank you for bringing me on.
Well, I'm so glad that you're with us, because you do provide this really interesting, different
Mhm.
perspective.
Yeah.
So, and from a couple of different perspectives. So, from your career choice and your
Mhm.
specialization, but also in the fact that you represent a lot of women out there who, unlike me, had a real problem that I needed, to address in a timely manner and figure some major stuff out. Um, eh, you know, it doesn't matter if it's one glass or a bottle or two bottles or whatever. If it's negatively impacting our life in any way, it's a conversation we need to have. And the
Mhm.
conversation is normal.
Yeah.
It's okay. And it's not a sign of weakness. It's not a sign of moral failing. It's a sign of, what, I'm doing this thing over here and I got to check. I need to have a conversation about it.
Mhm.
Period.
Yeah.
So anyways,
Yeah.
I'm so glad, Jill, we got to stop, but I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you're spending some time with me today at the SHAMEgrila. Thank you for checking in.
Thanks for having me.
And I certainly hope that you will, in short order, find a new window treatment.
Thank you. Me too.
Okay, take good care.
See you later. That's
Okay.
fun.